Today we're having a go at replacing the clock spring on the 2006 Infiniti QX56. I say having a go at it because this is my first time doing this on this particular vehicle. I just love working on a car that has been well kept. I mean, look at this car, 2006. It is clean on the inside and outside. Engine compartment a little dusty, but it's still clean compared to others I've seen. Now we're going to start off by disconnecting the batteries. First, disconnect the negative side to prevent any sparking, and once you've disconnected that, disconnect the positive side. Okay, on this vehicle it's done by using a 10mm wrench or socket. I've already done that. Now once you've done that, you want to wait for about 5 minutes so any charge that's held in the system, in capacitors or whatever, will dissipate. All right, because you do not want to deploy this airbag, the steering wheel airbag. Now to remove this, there are two screws. 10mm socket will do, up in this hole. Now in this hole was covered with this little plug, which you can use your fingernail or a tiny screwdriver to pry it out. If you're using a screwdriver, be careful not to scrape or scratch the cover or housing. Okay, the clock spring comes with the the turn signal and the headlight switches attached also. And now I have done this. I've taken out the two screws. You can employ a little magnet if you wish, something like that. I'm kind of made this up. This is actually a screw starter on the other end and a magnet on this end. In case the screw drop down in here when you take it out, but that's not necessary to use a magnet, because once you pull this cover off, you'll be able to access to pick the screws out of it. Now once that is done, wiggle this around and pull this out, but gently, because the wires back here are not very long. All right, you don't want to damage anything. And there's also a ground wire, this little green one here that was attached. Let me see if I can find that spot right here on the side. Remove that. Never pull on the wire itself, always pull on the end. Okay, you don't want to damage any wire, any plugs that you're pulling off. Even at home, when you're pulling your plugs out of the wall, grab onto the end that actually plugs in and pull it out. Now on top of here, you will see these are different colors, and they only fit where they're supposed to go. Okay, you can put them in the wrong hole. Now what you need to do is this little black piece here on top, get a tiny screwdriver, slide it under there gently and lift it on each one. Now these here, the black pieces, is what locks these two in place. So you want to unlock them first before you pull the plug out. If you force it out, you might damage something. But remember, wait 5 minutes or more to give any charge that's stored in any area of the car to dissipate. Okay, I have already popped these up simply by using a small flat blade screwdriver and prying this up. Okay, trying to do it through the camera instead of looking at what I'm doing. All right, just stick it right underneath there and pry it out. I prefer to go in the back side of it rather than here, because on the front you have those two little, I don't know if you can see them, there's two little pieces sticking down, and you might break those right here in the front. Okay, right there, there's two little pieces So go from the back side of it, from back here, and lift them up. Once you've done that, this should come out nice and easy. Sorry about all the movement of the camera. Nice and easy. Okay, remember again, I'm doing this with one hand, so it's not easy to be really steady. Okay, next move here is we have to remove this 19mm nut. Here, get yourself a socket, a ratchet, and an extension. All right, preferably 6-inch extension with a 1/2-inch ratchet. You can use a anything but a 1/4 inch. 3/8 ratchet set with the extension will work fine. All right, and break this loose. Hold the steering wheel as you turn. Okay, the wheel will lock. You can, you know, loosen it with the wheel lock, but I like to also try and hold the wheel as I do that, so not to put any pressure on the lock, not as if you would damage the wheel lock. Okay, with the nut loose, I don't show you all these stages of loosening, working a ratchet and working a wrench, because I'm pretty sure all of you know how to use a ratchet and a wrench and sockets and the regular basic tools. All right, so once that's loosened, don't take the nut all the way off. If you have a wheel puller, you can use that. And if you have a wheel puller, I think most of you know how to use it. But if you don't have one, this is what I will do. You leave the nut on, you kind of slap the wheel from this side, again from that side, give it a few good hits on either side. You grab it on the side, right hand here, left hand here, but since I'm videotaping, I can't show you. And then you wiggle right and left, back and forth. You want to leave the nut on, so if it comes off suddenly, it don't come and hit you in the face. All right, and you keep wiggling it. I'll use my knee. I've already loosened it. Now, see that? Nice and loose. Take the nut off. Pull the wheel gently. All right, I'm gonna put this back on because you have wires that's running through here, right? And the wheel will not come off like that, so you have to disconnect and pull this plug out. Now on the side of the plug right here, there's a little tab you push in and pull to release. So I will do that. Let's see if I can do it while I'm videotaping. No, I'm having problems, but I will take it off and then show you. One of the things I like to do before removing the wheel is to get a marker and mark right here, anywhere on the little post and against the wheel, the inside flange of the wheel. All right, so let me show you here with that little mark here and the mark down here on the steering wheel. I will have a fair idea of how to center this wheel back on here. All right, then with that plug out, this right here, right in here, if the little tab, you have to press down. Okay, by using, it's easier to use a flat blade, a tiny flat blade screwdriver to press it while it's down in the hole here, and then pull it out. If you have big fat fingers like I do, and don't look at the bruise on my thumb, have a big fat fingers like I do, it's kind of hard to get down in there and depress that, so use a screwdriver. Once you pull that out, because this part here is attached to the wheel, all right, then you can gently pull the wheel out. Okay, making sure the wires are not caught. See the two wires for the airbag? Once you do that, set the wheel out of the way, and there go the top of the clock spring. Next, we have to remove this cover, which is held in place by, there you go, 3 Phillips head screws. One here, another one here, and there's another one up top here. So remove those screws, and we should be able to remove this cover. But remember, do everything gently. Don't use too much force. You don't want to break anything. All right? So I'll go ahead and remove that cover. Again, I will emphasize, do it gently. You're trying to pry these two pieces apart. Just try and grab the tip of your fingers and get it in between the two and work them loose. Okay? And I emphasize gently because, as you can see, this here is what adjusts your steering wheel, right? And obviously, it's an electrical connection underneath here somewhere, so you don't want to yank it off and damage something. All right, so I am gonna keep prying these apart. I will first work the top piece off, and the back here is still attached, but I'm gonna need 2 hands to get in there and work it, okay? Yeah, I was having a little problem separating these two pieces because I thought I had taken all 3 screws out. This one right here was not loosened all the way, so that didn't come out. Now with that loose, I removed the top piece. But what would have made this a little easier is if I had lowered the steering column before attempting this. But obviously, since the battery was disconnected and the airbag removed, I didn't want to go ahead and hook it back up to do this because it would have turned on the airbag light. All right, now as you can see in here, this connection I was talking about, that's connected to this here, this switch. So now we're going to disconnect this. Same procedure. Depress that piece right here in the middle on the gray part and pull them apart. Okay, we got that off right here. That's the plug right here. Now next, we're going to focus on removing this clock spring. Hey guys, this is a clock spring. It has electrical connections to it. Carry out your inspection. See how it's made. See what's connected to it. And take it from there. So obviously this will have some wire harness plugged into it. It looks like one down here. Another one over to the side of that. And come around here. Look like there's one up here on the top side of it. So we have to disconnect those. Now there's also appears to be held down by 2 screws, Phillips head, down in here. One here, and the other is over here. All right, I have loosened these already, but I'm not willing to pull this out yet until I have disconnected all the wiring connected to it. Okay, these 2 right here, there's one on this side that looks like it's gray. There's a little black tab, as you can see, right, where is it? Around here. Up in there, there's a little black tab that you push down. When you push it far enough, you'll hear a little click. Then you can pull this out. All right? And on this one, the yellow one, there's a yellow tab that you push down and you hear a click also, then you can pull that out. I thought I already had that out, but I must have pushed it too far back to demonstrate to you. There you go. You can pull that out. All right. Put these two out, then we're gonna go in. There's another one here that I missed. The third one. Right here, the white one. Same thing. Let me see if I can get that while I'm videotaping. Nope. Let me cut this off, then I will try it again. On this one is white. This one here is white. You do the same thing with it. There's a little white tab in here that you press down and pull out. You hear that little click again. So we're gonna go up top and attempt this one. Using a screwdriver, I'm gonna press on this right here. See if I can get you in view. Press on that tab right here. Right, as you push that down, you use your other hand to pull the plug out. I've already disconnected, loosen that. Plug comes out. With that, I believe everything is disconnected. All the screws are loose and out, but I cannot remove this clock spring because right back here, this little plastic piece going down on the other side is locked in. So just push it in with your finger. As you can see, that has started moving. So now I should be able to pull this clock spring assembly out of place. There you go, we have it off. Now reassembly with the new one, you have to make sure that, I'll put the old one back on, that this here is centered. All right, you gotta have to make sure it's centered. If you don't put it in the center position, you can have problems. And how you do that, you turn it all the way, I'm turning it counterclockwise until it locks, right? Then you turn it all the way clockwise until it locks again. And you count each turn, each revolution. So we're over in this position. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, that's a little bit much. 5, let's say, if this is 1, I would say 5, not quite 5 1/4. Because yeah, if this 5 is here, then 5 1/2 should be here. So we're looking basically at 5 1/4, right? 5 1/4. At 5 1/4, then you will have to do 2 1/2, right? So we will go start in this position. Nope, the whole thing is moving. But basically, I will show you on the new one. Basically, now you're gonna count 2 1/2, which is, if it was 5, that would be mid-center. 2 1/2 would be right up in the center. So you want to do 2 1/2 and add another 1/8 to it, right? So that quarter would be split in half. That makes sense? Here we have the new clock spring assembly. We'll place this in here. This was bought from the dealership. This even comes with the 2 screws in here, right? Place that on there. Back here, snap it in place, which will lock this to the steering wheel. Okay, you line this up. Make sure your wire harness is out of the way. that you're not pressing on anything, and this should snap in place and lock in back here. Okay, once you have done that, on this particular one from the dealership, I don't believe you have to count to make sure this is centered. It already comes centered and it's locked in with this locking mechanism right here. Once you have it screwed in, remove this, the lock, and then you can go ahead with the rest of the assembly. Okay, tighten up these two screws. Plug up all your plugs. Make sure you hear them snap in place good. And when you have done that, then you can remove the lock. All right, then this will be able to move freely. But if you get it like this with the lock, it's already centered, so you just leave that alone and don't do anything. In fact, what I might do is put this lock back on, so as I put these through, I don't shift this. It shouldn't shift much. All right. Hook up the bottom cover. Make sure you plug this in. Here it's snap in place. And two hands will be very helpful here. Okay, get this in place and then put the top piece on. All right, I have to hold it in place to do that. All right, in this case, I will try and use my knee to hold it up because I don't have 3 arms. And then wiggle the top piece in. I'm thinking it might be better to lower this bottom piece and get the top piece in here like this. I'm saying I'm having problems because this wheel should have been lowered first. All right, so let me pause this. Okay, I had to use 2 hands to get this piece in place. If the wheel had been lowered before I started this job, it would have been a lot easier. So once I do that, then I can bring the bottom piece up to it and snap them in place. Okay, we're almost there, but again, I need 2 hands to make this happen. Now once this is lined up properly, these 2 covers, they will snap in place easily. Don't use too much force. Don't use excessive force. Just make sure that along the edges, all the way around, they are lined up. And then they will snap together and hold in place without the screws. Then you can put the 3 screws in place and you're good to go there. Now, don't make this mistake. When I put this cover on, I did not leave these wires. I didn't take these wires into consideration. This is the wire that actually plug into the airbag. So now I have to take this back off, pull the wire up top, and then snap this together. Okay, this is the way it's supposed to be. All right, now run up to 3 screws, as I said before. Cover is on and secured. And now we shall remove the locking mechanism and put the steering wheel on using the mark on here and on the inside cover to center the wheel. And another little thing you can try, if your wheel is not centered, what I like to do is put the wheel on, put the nut on loosely, drive the car on an even surface slowly in a straight line. If your alignment is everything is correct, the car will drive straight. And if the wheel is a little bit cocked, you stop, lift the wheel up, and put it in a position that you believe to be centered. I look centered to you, okay? And then tighten everything up. Okay, what I did here, I placed these two through that hole down here, okay? And then fed the wheel on. And before I put the wheel all the way down, I removed that locking mechanism. Right, then right in here, you see the blue marks? Line them up. And wiggle the wheel down onto the spline. Okay, it's in place. There you go. Wheel is in place. And then put your nut on. Put this back in place over here. I'm right-handed, but I shouldn't have that much difficulties guiding this thing in with my left hand. What's going on? There you go. Snap it in. And then hook up your ground wire. Okay, first, before even hooking up this ground, you have to put this nut on and torque it down. Okay. Hey, again, I don't know the torque of this. Just put it. Best turn you can put on. If you don't feel you're strong enough, get somebody who's strong enough to tighten it down really tight. All right, I've never known these to work themselves loose unless somebody just screw it on, left it loose, finger tight. You don't do that. Okay, again, if you need a torque specs, look it up. Okay, steering wheel is in and locked down. Right, we want to have 3 more wires to connect. This one here, these 2 here, and the ground to the airbag. And also, that little bit of advice I gave you earlier about centering the steering wheel, that's old school. You can't really do it as easily as that with systems with airbag and steering wheel airbag. You would need to put the wheel on, tighten it down, put the airbag on, find an out-of-the-way place, drive the car in a straight line, apply the brake gently, so if your brakes are not working evenly, don't pull the wheel to one side, okay? So you make sure you apply it gently, then you go through the procedure of taking the airbag, disconnecting your battery, letting it sit for a little while, take the airbag out, and pull the wheel off without trying to turn the wheel. Just pull it straight up, center it, and reassemble everything, hook up your battery. All right, you don't want to cause problem with that airbag deploying. Hey, these are color-coded. They will only match, all you have to do is match colors up. Press them in place, and then press the lock down. Okay? Do the same with both of them. Press them firmly in place, and then lock them in. What I do is hook up the ground first, and then put these 2 plugs in. Once you have done that, you can sit this back in place. It just drops in neatly and easily. Now I'm putting the screws in without a magnetic socket. Could be a little tricky because when you try to get up in there using a regular socket, it might fall down. Then you have to remove the airbag to get it out and all of that. So what I do, I use the paper trick. Put a little tissue over the opening of your socket, and then squeeze the screw down in there, and that tissue will hold the screw in place so it won't fall out. Okay, there we go. The screw is in the socket, held in by the tissue. Turn it upside down, wiggle it around, and it stays. Okay, now that tissue, once you pull the socket out, will stay in the hole. If you're concerned with that, when you put the tissue in, get a little bit of tape and tape it to the socket, tape it around the edges to the socket. All right, then when you pull it out, the tissue will come out with it. If not, if you have a problem and the tissue remains in, get some tweezers, a needle nose, tiny needle nose, reach in there and pull it out. Airbag is in there secured. Now we'll go ahead and hook up the battery and turn the system on, drive the car, make sure the wheel is straight. Okay, baby, we're all together. Start it up. Everything works. Wiper assembly, headlights, turn signals, horn, and all the other gadgets. Everything is working fine. So let's wrap it up.